The 2022 season has pretty much been a big disappointment for the Giants, and so with their playoff hopes very diminished at this point, we are kind of looking towards the future, and some of the biggest stories the rest of the way involve younger players and then look into the offseason as well. And so we're going to talk about some key promotions in the minor league system and also get to some mailbag questions next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And coming up on today's show, as I said, first I want to talk about a couple of moves within the minor league system, the moves are a big deal. And then I want to get to some mailbag questions. So without further delay, the big promotion that we heard about yesterday or the day before was that Casey Schmitt, who's had a breakout season for the Giants with the Eugene Emeralds, which is the High-A affiliate of the Giants, he was promoted to Double-A. And so it's kind of like I don't quite understand the timing of when they don't make promotions like this. I thought Schmitt, in my opinion, which is not necessarily an expert opinion on when guys should get promoted, I thought he deserved it for a long time, but he finally gets promoted. And why that's a big deal for the Giants is because they need all the young talent to start arriving that they can get. And they're probably not going to get it this year, given that there's not a lot of time left. And I mean, that's one of the mailbag questions that we'll get to. What prospects might we see in the rest of 2022? But Schmitt is an excellent defensive player at third base. Excellent, which it's such a breath of fresh air to even imagine an excellent defensive player. We saw Manny Machado in this series against the Padres making amazing throws and plays, and meanwhile the Giants, their inability to make firm, accurate throws has hurt them so often this year, especially from that third base position at times when it's not been Evan Longoria. So anyway, Schmitt, he had a 136 weighted runs created plus in High-A, 17 home runs, 363 on base, and excellent defense. He even played some shortstop. So it's great to see him go to Double-A. He is 23 years old, and he was drafted in 2020 with the Giants' second round pick, 49th overall. And they also promoted Randy Rodriguez, a pitcher, to Triple-A. Melvin Adone, a name from the past, joins the Double-A roster. But I also wanted to mention that Marco Luciano missed about 2 months with, a lower back injury. And he finally has come back in the last few days, and he's playing in the Complex League in Arizona, but should go back to High-A at some point soon. In fact, I don't think he played yesterday, so maybe he's on his way now, hopefully. So to get him back in High-A, where he was doing very well, is huge because the injury was just super unfortunate. And we talked yesterday about how the 2020 no minor league season very much affected the development of a lot of guys, including Marco Luciano. And it basically set the Giants' youth movement back by a year. So let's not forget, it's not an excuse, but let's not forget that with the Giants taking forever for their prospects to start arriving, they lost a whole season of development when there was no minor league season in 2020. So, yeah. But Marco Luciano, if he had stayed healthy this year, he was tearing it up in High-A when he got hurt. He had a 142 weighted runs created plus, 288 average, 360 on base, 507 slugging. He's just 20 years old, turns 21 on September 10th of this year. And I mean, he very likely could have made it to Double-A by the end of the year, and I guess it's still possible if he just goes back to High-A right now and tears it up, he could see that promotion. And the big deal about if you're in Double-A is that you're very much a candidate to make the major leagues the following season if you can just continue to play well going into the next year. So we're not going to see Luciano at the major league level this year, of course, but that's my hope, is that can he make it to Double-A by the end of the year? And a lot of prospect rankers have Luciano in the top 10, and almost all of them have him in the top 15 to 20 range in all of baseball. And another guy who's joined those ranks along with Marco Luciano is Kyle Harrison, who actually was pitching today for Double-A. So he's made it to Double-A. He started the year in High-A, and he just absolutely dominated with a strikeout rate of 50% and 1.55 ERA, peripherals to match. And he's been very good in Double-A as well. And so he's one guy to watch. Like, could he get even promoted again? And I certainly don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. It could even happen right now because he just had another good outing today. Going into today, 36% strikeout rate, 2.92 ERA. FIP is a little bit higher. Walk rate has been a little bit higher than it was in High-A. And it's too high. He's got to kind of rein in the walks a little bit, but otherwise there's just very little to complain about with the performance of Kyle Harrison. Many consider him, like I said, a top 15 or so prospect in the game at this point, and he's kind of shot up these rankings and has the ceiling of a front-end starter. And he also is just 20 years old. Actually, yeah, he turns 21 tomorrow, so he can enjoy an adult beverage on his birthday tomorrow, perhaps celebrating a promotion to AAA. I have no idea, but that's just my hope. So anyway, in other news about young Giants players, Joey Bart, we weren't sure about the status of his ankle. He had an MRI, and thankfully the MRI simply revealed a ankle sprain. And I guess he was available in an emergency yesterday, and they're hopeful he can catch on Friday in their next game. And so that's great news. It seemed kind of scary, but Joey Bart is okay, so great to see. Anyway, now let's jump into the mailbag questions. The first one comes from a username I honestly is just numbers and letters. 51TSIOM_GIB asks, do the Giants extend Wilmer Flores's contract? And it's a big and relevant question because Wilmer Flores has been one of their better players, and his contract is in fact up at the end of the season. It ended up being a 3-year deal. It was a 2-year deal with a club option. It was a very easy call to pick up the $3.5 million club option for this year, but he is a free agent at the end of the year. So Wilmer Flores has been a good Giant. He's been popular everywhere he's gone in his career, from New York to Arizona to now San Francisco. He just celebrated a birthday himself on August 6th, and he is 31 years old. So my gut feeling is that they want him back. So the question is just what the contract is going to be. So I would expect, he's played here for 3 years. He's developed relationships here. I'm sure he's comfortable here to an extent. And so there's probably mutual interest. So I would lean towards Wilmer Flores will be back, but it's ultimately just a guess because we're going to have to wait and find out. But in terms of extending his contract, I don't know if it happens mid-season or if he wants to test free agency, in which case it would be like re-signing as opposed to extending, just for semantics. Anyway, the next question is about the trade deadline and perhaps the Giants passing on some young talent, and if that was a mistake on these specific players. How about Mickey Moniak and Jarred Kelenic? So we'll get into that in just a second. But first, whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. And I say this all the time, but I just absolutely love that with Blue Nile, you can do this from home. Used to be an awful experience, in my opinion. Going to a car dealer, going to a jewelry store, same kind of feel. But now You can get that personalized expertise from home with BlueNile.com. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. Going on now is the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, as promised, more questions and answers. The next one comes from Scott Anstead, who says, with Mickey Moniak in the palms of his hands, Zaidi passed. The opportunity to get Jarred Kelenic, Zaidi passed. Teams passed on our prospects. Our cleanup hitter today was just DFA'd weeks ago. What is broken and when do they begin to fix it? So, another depressing question. There's some truth in this and there's some not so much truth in this. Like, okay, so just to go in order, how about that? Mickey Moniak, the reason his name is mentioned is because the Angels got him in the deal that sent Noah Syndergaard to the Phillies. So Mickey Moniak is a former number 1 overall pick in 2016. And so that's where the name brand recognition comes into play. But Mickey Moniak has completely fizzled out like in his career. And in his major league career, the man has hit 150 with a 229 on base, 243 slugging. It is a small sample, but the only reason it's a small sample is because he hasn't done particularly well in the minor leagues as well. Like he just hasn't been the guy that the Phillies hoped he would be when they took him with the number 1 pick. And so this is kind of a bad return, in my opinion, for even Noah Syndergaard, who was worse than Carlos Rodón. So if you trade Carlos Rodón and you're getting just Mickey Moniak back, I would have been disappointed with that, and I would have said I don't really get what they see right now in Mickey Moniak, who with the Angels now, just this season now, he's got a 40 weighted runs created plus, hit 167, 219 on base, 283 slugging. So Kelenic is a different story for me because while he has not done well in the majors either, he's done very, very well in the minors and is still, Moniak is like not really a prospect anymore at all. People don't really have hope for Mickey Moniak, whereas I still have hope. Look, you should always never give up hope, and I don't know Mickey Moniak all that well except just looking at his numbers, but I know that he's considered a big disappointment and there's not a lot of optimism that he'll perform. Jarred Kelenic has also struggled at the major league level, but I just happen to have more belief in him, and there's just no evidence out there that the Mariners were offering Kelenic in a trade to the Giants. So to say the opportunity to get Kelenic, Zaidi passed is just false. It may be true. I don't think so, but there's no evidence that this is true. And then to say teams passed on our prospects, there is some evidence that the Padres, like Zaidi even has said, that the Padres the Nationals preferred the prospects of the Padres in as opposed to the Giants. And there's just no doubt. I mean, like I said, Marco Luciano was hurt. You've got guys like Elliot Ramos who have just fallen off a cliff at the upper minors. Luis Matos has suffered performance-wise this year. And so a lot of your top prospects kind of took a nosedive this year, and that's fair. You're right about that. And, I mean, you still have some good ones. You're talking about Juan Soto. Like, if you wanted pretty much anybody else, Kyle Harrison is a great prospect. Luciano is still a great prospect, even though he was hurt, but thankfully he's healthy now. To say, I mean, you're talking about a package that was ultimately what people are describing the most significant trade in the history of the game. And so to say that people passed on our prospects is kind of it was on an extreme end of the talent that was being sent to the Padres. And so they had to give up just an extreme package. So the Giants couldn't offer an extreme package of prospects. And plus, there's also the factor that C.J. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore are like equivalent in some ways to Luciano and Harrison, but further along. They've both debuted in the majors. And so it's just kind of a timeline matter as well. So the cleanup hitter being DFA'd, yeah, I hear you on that. I don't know if you're talking about Yermin Mercedes, but I mean, the platooning, sometimes with their righty lineup is, people tell me the salary of their lineup. Well, it's different depending on who's in there. They've got some very high salary players, probably overpaid in Longoria, Belt, Crawford. So you can have a high salary and still be bad. I don't really care about that. But yeah, to just construct a lineup of guys who have been DFA'd is kind of unsettling and a problem. And so they need to just continue what needs to be fixed. They need their young players to start debuting and making an impact, and then they need to supplement that with more significant signings, in my opinion. But the young players is probably the more significant angle. They need Schmitt and Harrison and Luciano and others to start coming up and making a difference. That's what we've seen with other teams that have had a lot of success, like the Los Angeles Dodgers, even the Padres. Tatis was a prospect, came up, became a superstar, and Gore and Abrams, and then they were able to trade him for Soto. So it makes a huge difference to have young talent, not just young players, but talented players start showing up. So the next question, how much bullpen turnover do you expect from 2022 to 2023? This is a big one because the Giants bullpen has not been very good this year. After leading the majors in earned run average last year, the Giants now have a 4.45 ERA, which is the fifth highest in Major League Baseball. So that is not good. And so we're going to answer this question, how much turnover do we expect, in just a minute. But first, are you struggling with a bloated belly, uncomfortable digestive issues, or feeling tired and sluggish? There's a good chance you might have an overworked liver. Thanks to diets high in processed food and exposure to thousands of harmful toxins, the solution: you need to cleanse and gently detoxify your liver. That's where Liver Health Formula from Pure Health Research can help. Liver Health Formula combines 8 powerful nutrients such as turmeric, beet, and artichoke extract to gently detoxify your liver, restore comfortable regular digestion, reduce belly bloating, and fill your days with renewed energy. As a listener of our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today and get a bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Curb Fit is a safe and all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to those naughty foods. This makes the perfect complement to the Liver Health Formula. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB to learn more. Again, that's getliverhelp.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free and claim your free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB now to get started. All right, here we go. We're going to get to more mailbag questions. And the first one, Pac Bell Partisan says, how much bullpen turnover do you expect from 2022 to 2023? I think probably a lot because, like I said, they haven't been good. There is always the case to make that relievers in a small sample, they're just unpredictable. But when we look at the group who's currently out there, Camilo Doval, John Brebbia, Dom Leone, Tyler Rogers, Harleen Garcia, Junior Marte, and Alex Young, I would expect, so the contract status of these guys, who's a free agent? Well, Dom Leone and Jose Alvarez, who's currently on the injured list, are free agents at the end of the year, but everybody else is not. And so there's 2 guys. I'm not so sure that Dom Leone comes back, given that he was quite good last year, but he just hasn't really been good this year. And there's a lot of issues with command right now. And I don't think that that's something that they are particularly fond of. And being a free agent, they seem to just like to construct a more kind of flexible bullpen and claiming guys and trading for guys with club control and guys with options, which I understand. And actually, I've heard that studies have been done on the most effective bullpens. And it's like a homegrown kind of guys with options and club control. So you're not like committing. That's the problem. If they're so volatile and you give a guaranteed multi-year contract and then all of a sudden they're not good anymore and you're like stuck with that performance. So I would expect, and we probably will get to a question about this later, but I think there's some guys in the system, Randy Rodriguez, like was just mentioned. He was just promoted to AAA, and you've got RJ Dabovich in AAA. And so I would expect, if we're going to see some prospects in the next couple of months as the season winds down, we're going to see some relievers who could be a part of the future. Because, they traded away Trevor Rosenthal, and he could have been good. And I think they did that because they're eyeing the future, and they want to get a look at some younger players instead of giving that spot to a more veteran player whose contract would be up at the end of the year. And so I would expect a significant amount of turnover, but probably also a lot of the same guys. Like Duvall will be back, of course. Brebbia, Tyler Rogers, he has options. So if he just continues to struggle, you don't have to cut him. You just option him, let him work some stuff out, and then bring him back. And that's kind of the beauty of guys with options. Yeah, so a fair amount. I think they're going to give a look to a lot of different guys down the stretch here. Next question comes from Alex Luna, who says, what prospects get a September call-up? If Harrison continues to have success, does he get a taste? So I guess I basically just answered that question. I think that it's probably mostly going to be arms, although I'd have to take a much deeper look to give you the best possible answer. But intuitively, I think that you're going to possibly see a Dabovich, although he's not yet on the 40-man, and Randy Rodriguez is. So, but I think it'd probably be worth adding him if he starts tearing it up in AAA. Last I saw, he wasn't yet, and I think they'd like to see that a little bit before they call him up and add him to the 40-man. But Randy Rodriguez, Dabovich, Elliot Ramos has just been a non-factor in the minors, so I don't know that we see him the rest of the way, but maybe. And Kyle Harrison, that's the big one. If he comes up at some point, I don't know. I think they want to limit his innings, probably, given that, if this team was going to the playoffs, you might even consider calling Harrison up to be one of those, David Price down the stretch wild card. By wild card, I mean, he's a wild card. Arms, who the league doesn't know, and he's just this young gunslinger. But we'll see. It's something to watch. And they mentioned, there was an interview, I think it was with Scott Harris, and he mentioned that they wouldn't rule it out for him getting to AAA by the end of the year. So I think they'd probably send him to AAA first before they consider sending him to the majors. But so that would be step one. And then from there, we'll see. Next question comes from Dustin, who says, Judge, Nola, Arenado, DeGrom. I want all of them, but if you had to choose one, who and why? So I just want to be clear about something. Aaron Nola has a club option for next year. So I'm assuming you're mentioning these names, thinking of them as upcoming free agents. But Aaron Nola has a club option that's going to be picked up unless his arm falls off, in which case you don't want to sign him. So he's not going to be available. Nolan Arenado has an opt-out of the 5 years, $144 million left on his deal. And it does seem entirely possible that he will opt out given the amazing season that he's having. But Nola won't be a free agent. Arenado might not be a free agent. So it's really Judge and DeGrom are the only guaranteed free agents here. And however, I'm going to just take your question. I'm going to answer which of these four I would want. So the answer for me is Aaron Judge, because he is, I think, the best player, and he's, I don't know that he's younger than Nola, but he's younger than Arenado, he's younger than DeGrom. So for me, it was between Judge and Arenado, and I just think that Judge is a little bit better, although Nolan Arenado is having a fantastic season for the Cardinals, great defender, which we really need on the Giants, but Judge is also a very good defender. I think Arenado might be signed for a year less or 2 years less even. And so that's somewhat attractive, but I think Judge is just the best talent, and I want the best talent. He's also the biggest star. Arenado is also a big star, but Judge is even more so, and he grew up in the area, and so it's kind of more realistic, I think. But I would not complain about Nolan Arenado going to the Giants either. Jacob deGrom, obviously a star talent, but he's just always hurt, and so I would have some concerns about that, and the Giants have been able to put together pretty good starting pitching and find kind of diamonds in the rough I wouldn't be shocked if DeGrom ended up on the Giants. Probably not, but Wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked if he goes to the Dodgers, actually, now that I think about it, which would be horrible. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out a lot, so thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. Coming up tomorrow, crossover with Ethan from Locked On Pirates, getting you set for this upcoming series, which is critical for the Giants. I think they have to sweep it. 2 out of 3 is necessary. A sweep would be much better. So we'll be back talking with Ethan tomorrow. Thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.